History, Unit 7, State and Society in Medieval India, from the Cholas to the Mughals. There occurred a drastic changes in India during the medieval period in all the fields. For example, art, architecture, trade, science, agriculture, etc. This is due to the intrusion of new religion, travelers, traders from other countries, invasions, etc. Let us see in detail from South India to North India, that is, from Cholas to Mughals in the country of India. First, let us see the learning objectives. In this unit, we will see about the successive dynasties and the resultant political outcomes from the times of the Cholas to the Mughals. Then we'll see about the influence of Islam, institutional and administrative changes during Chola, Pandya and Vijayanagar periods, changes in religious spheres, development of literature, art and architecture, transformation in agriculture and manufacturing sector, and also we'll discuss about trade, commerce and urbanization. Now we'll start our topic from the introduction. The medieval period was from the 7th century till the beginning of the Mughal rule in the 16th century. The Mughal era in the 16th century to 18th century is referred to as the early modern period. The political scenario of India underwent definitive changes. These changes transformed the social and economic fabric and development of the country. The major political changes occurred during this period. The expansion of the Chola Empire extending north till Orissa, the beginning of several centuries of Muslim rule in Delhi, and the spread of Islam to different parts of the country. The consequent rise of many religions in the kingdoms of South India. The Vijayanagar Empire exercised authority over all of the South India. Muslim rule under the Mughals in the north began in 1526 AD with the defeat of Ibrahim Lodi by Babur. Mughal Empire stretched from Kabul to Gujarat to Bengal, from Kashmir to South India. The coming of the Europeans, beginning with the Portuguese who arrived on the west coast of India in 1498. We all know that in the year 1498, Vasco da Gama reached India through Calicut. Next, we'll see the political changes. In the North India, the advent of the Islam. Muslim rule was established in Delhi at the end of the 12th century by Muhammad Ghori. The impact of Muslim rule was felt during the reign of Alauddin Khilji, who sent military campaigns to the south. The primary objective was to plunder the wealth rather than to expand his territory. This is Alauddin Khilji. Devagiri was captured by Alauddin Khilji and he renamed it as Dauladabad. Alauddin Khilji's slave and commander Malik Kafur was sent on military expeditions. The Tughlaq kings who came after Alauddin sent their armies to the south. As a result, came into the orbit of the rulers of the north. Governors were appointed in various provinces in the Deccan region. During the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we can see Muhammad bin Tughlaq in the picture. He is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. During the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there was a revolt in Dauladabad. Alauddin Bahman Shah set up the Bahmani Sultanate in 1347 AD with its capital in Bidar. The Bahmani kingdom survived for nearly a century and a half, mainly due to the able administration of Muhammad Gawan, a great statesman and loyal minister. After his death, many viceroys declared their independence, and by the end of the 15th century, 5 sultanates came up in the Deccan: Bijapur, Golconda, Ahmednagar, Berar, and Bedar. These were the 5 sultanates in the Deccan region. The Deccan Sultanates were conquered by Aurangzeb in the year 1660 AD. Next, we'll see in the South India. In the South India, the Chola Empire was in position. The territorial expansion of the Chola Empire began under Rajaraja I. We can see the picture of King Rajaraja Chola I. The Pandya kingdom remained independent but was subservient to the Cholas. The empire expanded further under Rajendra I, who had successfully taken his armies as far to the northeast as the river Ganges. He had also sent naval expeditions against Gadaram, Keda, and Ceylon. This earned him the title Gangayum Gadaramum Konda Cholan. Ceylon remained a province of the Chola Empire for a few decades. The empire was further consolidated through marriage with the eastern Chalukyas under Rajendra's grandson Kulotunga I and extended up to the border of Orissa. Now let us see about the Vijayanagar Empire. Vijayanagar and South India after the Cholas. The Chola Empire began to decline after the middle of the 13th century. The last known Chola emperor was Rajendra III. The empire died out in the year 1279 AD. The Vijayanagar kingdom extended through much of the present day state of Karnataka. The Kakatiyas ruled from Warangal, Telangana, while the Yadavas ruled in Devagiri until Devagiri fell to Alauddin Khalji's forces at the end of the 13th century. The establishment of the kingdom of Vijayanagar was the most momentous development in the history of South India in the medieval period. The kingdom was established by Harihara and Bukka, two brothers. They were the first rulers of the Sangama dynasty. They founded a new capital city on the southern banks of Tungabhadra, which they named Vijayanagara. That means the city of victory. Harihara was crowned in 1336 AD. The Sangama dynasty ruled Vijayanagar for nearly 1.5 centuries. This was followed by Saluva dynasty, which was in power only for a brief period. Next comes the Tuluva dynasty. The Tuluva dynasty then succeeded as rulers. Krishnadevaraya, the greatest ruler of Vijayanagar, belonged to this family. The rulers of Vijayanagar were almost continuously at war. Finally, the combined forces of the five Deccani Sultanates defeated Vijayanagar in the year 1565 AD at the Battle of Talekota. The Vijayanagar emperors then shifted their capital further south to the Penugonda and eventually to Chandragiri near Tirupati. Now we'll see the Mughals. The Mughals were ruling in the North India. Slowly they expanded the kingdom. The Mughals from the year 1526 to 1707 AD. The Mughal Empire was founded by Babur in 1526 AD after he defeated Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat. This was called the First Panipat Poor. The first six Mughal emperors are referred to as the Great Mughals. Aurangzeb was the last of the Great Mughals. Here we can see the map of India. The North India was ruled by the Mughal emperors. Later they expanded till the South India. Next we'll see a new power center rose in Maharashtra in the 17th century and the Marathas under the leadership of Shivaji seriously undermined the authority of the Mughals in western India. This is the picture of Shivaji's court in the region of Maharashtra. Next we'll see the arrival of the Europeans, the important change brought by the arrival of Europeans into India. During the 15th century, the Europeans were trying to find a direct sea route to India. By gaining direct access to India, the Europeans could exercise more direct control over the spice trade and obtain the spices at more favorable prices. In 1498 AD, Vasco da Gama landed on the Kerala coast. Barely 5 years later, the Portuguese built their first fort at Cochin in the year 1503. Goa was captured in 1510 AD and became the center of Portuguese state in India. Other European nations soon followed the Portuguese, like the Dutch, the English, and the French. During the 17th century, when Mughal authority was still powerful, the European companies were able to trade in the Mughal Empire. In South India, political authority was fragmented. The Dutch were in Pulicat and later Nagapatnam, the English in Madras, the French in Pondicherry, and the Danes in Tarangambadi. It is called as Tranquebar. We can see the map of South India where the Europeans slowly started to take up the political authority. We have seen the empires ruled over India so far and the advent of the Europeans into India. Now we'll see the impact on polity. The Chola period was an enterprising period when trade and the economy expanded, accompanied by urbanization. The basic unit of local administration was the village, which was called as Ur, followed by the sub-region called as Nadu and district called as Kotam. Tax-free villages granted to Brahmins were known as Brahmadeya. The establishment of Islamic rule in Delhi made a big impact on the Indian society. Impact is nothing but a change. So the Islamic rule brought a difference in the Indian society. Arab merchants, when they came and settled on Kerala coast, married local women and led a peaceful life. The situation changed when Islam became a state power. A notable development was the historical accounts of the Muslim sultanates by Arab and Persian historians. Al-Bruni, Ibn Battuta, and Firishta are among the best known of the Muslim historians. These historians provide valuable information about the rulers and the events of the medieval period. Now we'll see how the Mughal Empire transformed the economy and society. The Mughal Empire transformed the economy and society of North India. The empire was consolidated under Akbar through his policy of co-opting the Hindu Rajput rulers under the umbrella of Mughal rule. At the height of its power, the Mughal Empire was one of the largest, richest, and most powerful empires in the entire world. The arrival of the Europeans in India. India ultimately culminated in the establishment of colonial rule in India after the British. There was an explosion in the demand for territories in the European markets, often referred to as the Indian craze. This led to a significant expansion of textile production in India, which was accompanied by an expansion of the production of commercial crops like cotton and indigo and other Indian types. Next, we'll see how the society was during the medieval period. First, let us go into the topic caste. Caste is the most distinctive aspect of Indian society. There were two dimensions of the term caste. First was the fourfold divisions of society as specified in the religious text, referred to as Varna. Improving the status of their jati was a major preoccupation for all the caste groups. This is particularly evident after the 14th century, when the traditional local assemblies which controlled the resources and the social interactions began to weaken. Next, we'll move on to the religion. When we take up the religion, diverse institutions with different ideologies came up within the Bhakti movement during the medieval period. Buddhism had phased out in India. Jainism also lost ground in most parts of the India due to the emergence of Bhakti movement under Shankara and Ramanuja. With regard to Christianity, there were a small number of Christian groups in Kerala claiming their origins to the time of St. Thomas, the disciple of Jesus. The local population was under great pressure to convert to Christianity. The best known among the Jesuit missionaries was St. Francis Xavier, who was instrumental in making the fishing community to take to Christianity in the Tuticorin region. Another notable Jesuit was Roberto di Nobili, a scholar who was based in Madurai. In the north, a new religion, Sikhism, was founded by Guru Nanak, who lived during the 15th and 16th century. Foreign religions also came to India when Jews and Zoroastrians are the Parsis, they migrated to India. Next, we'll see about the culture. In culture, we'll see about literature, art, and architecture first. The Chola period was an era of remarkable cultural activity. The best known classical poet, Kamban, wrote Ramayana in Tamil, which was formally presented in the temple at Srirangam. Sekilar's Periya Puranam similarly was presented at the temple in Chidambaram. Among the other great works of the period is Kalingathu Parani and Moovarula. These were the good examples for literature. When we take up the art and architecture, the monumental architecture of the Cholas is visible in the great temples of Tanjavur, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, and Dharasuram. Stone images, bronze images were of great importance. The best known of them is the iconic representation of Lord Shiva as Nadraja performing the cosmic dance. When we take up the Mughals, they were well known for their aesthetic values and were great patrons of the arts. They left behind numerous monuments. They constructed entire cities like Shahjahanabad, Delhi, and Fatehpur Sikri gardens, mosques, and forts. Religious literature, especially in Sanskrit, Telugu, and Tamil, emerged during this period. An ancient village in South Indian state of Karnataka, we can see a carved stone chariot stands in front of the huge Vitala temple site of Vijayanagar Empire. Look at this picture. This is the ancient village which we spoke about. That is the Hampi where the stone chariot stands. Next, we'll move on to the topic economy. Economy is the most important thing to run the administration. Agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy as very large proportion of the population depend on agriculture. As monsoon is not proper in our country, we need irrigation. So, irrigation is the alternative method for the source of water. So, kings constructed lakes, tanks, and reservoirs and also encouraged cultivators to dig wells. In the north, the Persian wheel was used for lifting water from the wells. Look at the picture. The first picture shows the Persian wheels. These are used to draw water from the wells. Wheat, rice, millets, sugarcane, oil seeds, cotton, indigo, pepper, cinnamon, spices, coconut. Same way, potatoes, chilies, tomatoes were grown during the medieval period. Now we'll look at the non-agricultural production. Non-agricultural production refers to both processed agricultural products and also the craft production. Primarily, the products can be grouped under processed agriculture products like sugar, oil, textiles, metalwork, precious gems, jewelry, shipbuilding, and leatherwork. Craft production like pots, woodwork, textiles, mostly these were exchanged with the barter system. During those days, they exchanged the goods with the help of the barter system. Barter system is nothing but instead of money, they'll exchange the goods. In the Mughal state, karkhanas were set up. Karkhanas are the factories or industries. Craftsmen generally worked on individual and also on the family basis. Next, we'll see the textiles. Textiles, Bengal and Gujarat were famous for silk. All the regions of India produced cotton. Dyed and printed clothes were in use all over the country. The favorable thing was cotton grew well in almost all parts of India. Other than the vegetable dyes, range of color were produced from fruits and flowers and also from the products like turmeric. Here in the picture we can see the textile production. Can you see the picture? The textile production. It was in the small scale level and also in the large scale level. Next we'll see the commerce. Commerce is the trade which carried barter system. Already we discussed about this. In trade and commerce, barter system was prevalent among the parts of the country. There were large manufacturing sectors produced lot of goods which was not only of the self use but also for exporting the goods produced. Big cities acted as the commercial centers with bazaars and shops. Ships and boats were used to send the goods. Maritime trade across the Indian Ocean, extending from China in the east to Africa in the west, had flourished for many centuries. The major imports from China and the east were silk, Chinese ceramics, gold, spices, woods, and camphor. Silk, drugs, dyewoods, and sugar were the main imports from Persia, while gold, ivory, and slaves were brought in from East Africa. So the trade developed and the commerce also developed. This developed the economy of the people of our region. Next we'll see urbanization. What is urbanization? Urbanization means migrating from the rural region to urban region. This is called as urbanization. Travelers coming to India noted that even though India was rural in nature, but small markets, towns were prevalent throughout India. There were number of urban centers of various sizes which led to the migration of people from rural to urban regions. Let us see what factors facilitated urbanization. What are the factors which developed the urbanization? What made the people to move from the rural region to urban region? Number one is economic condition was very good in urban region, that is the town region. Next thing is marketing, banking and financial services was very much easier in the cities. Hence, these reasons facilitated urbanization in a great manner. Now, let us see the conclusion. More than 700 years of Indian society was a time when momentous changes took place in the political landscape in the medieval period. This changed the social and economic fabric of the country. We have come to the end of the lesson. Before concluding, we'll see the events happened in Europe during the same period, that is the medieval period in India, the same contemporary period, what happened in Europe, let us see now. Holy Roman Empire and Emperor Charlemagne. In the beginning of the 9th century AD, a new institution called Holy Roman Empire came into existence in continental Europe. The emperor was superior to everybody else in the world except the Pope. Charlemagne, the king of Franks, was the first Holy Roman Emperor to assume the title. Charlemagne was a contemporary of Pallava king Nandivarman II and Pratyahara ruler Nagapatra I. Look at this picture. The picture shows the king Charlemagne and Pope Adrian I. During those days, the king used to get the advice from the Pope. Next, we'll move on to England. King John and the Great Magna Carta. The nobles in England forced King John II to sign a Charter of Liberty in 1215 AD. It is Magna Carta or the Great Charter. This charter contained a promise that the king would respect certain liberties of the nobles and the people of England. The theory of the supremacy of the ruler, which prevailed in the Holy Roman Empire, was not accepted in England. King John of England was a contemporary of Sultan Iltutmish in India. Thus, in England, we find the king's power was checked early. The king's power was restricted. He has to obey the orders of the people and also the members of the council. So he could not take any decision on his own. He has to get all the advice from the council members and also the ministers in the court. Look at this picture. King John signing Magna Carta. The king would respect certain liberties of the nobles and the people of England. This was assured by King John by signing the Magna Carta. We have come to the end of the lesson. Before concluding, we'll have a recap of the lesson. We dealt with the political changes commencing from the establishment of Muslim rule in Delhi. We analyzed about the period of Cholas and significance of Vijayanagar Empire in the south. We highlighted about the economy and society during the Sultanate and also the Mughal period. We also discussed progress in art, literature and music. We also discussed about the occupational caste, conditions of agriculture, trade, commerce and urbanization. We finally discussed about the events which happened in Europe during the same contemporary period. Okay students, we have discussed all the topics from history, unit 7, state and society in medieval India from the Cholas to the Mughals. Go through the lesson and learn the book back questions which will be displayed on the screen. Do your best, try to be the best, and all the best.